The man in the torn jacket closed his eyes and started to play. Nobody expected what would happen in the next 4 minutes. A crowd had gathered on the sidewalk outside a glass office tower, phones raised, ready to laugh at another street performer. Among them stood a man in a navy suit, gold watch on his wrist, a man worth more money than everyone around him combined. His name was Daniel Cross, and he had stepped outside for 2 minutes of fresh air between meetings. He was not expecting to be brought to his knees. The musician's name was Eli. Nobody on that street knew that. To them, he was just a shape on the pavement, a guitar case open for coins nobody planned to give. His hands were rough. His jacket had more holes than fabric. His guitar was older than some of the buildings around him, the wood worn smooth where his fingers had rested 1,000 times before. People walked past every day. Some stepped over his case like it was invisible. A few laughed, nudging each other, filming him for a joke they would forget by dinner. Daniel had laughed too, the first time he saw him, weeks ago. He'd muttered something to his assistant about getting a real job and walked on without looking back. Today was different. Today, Eli didn't play a random tune to catch spare change. Today, he played a song that Daniel hadn't heard in 15 years. The first chord hit the air, and something in Daniel's chest tightened. It was a lullaby, a simple, aching melody, the kind a mother hums to a child at night. Daniel's mother used to hum that exact tune when he was young, before the money, before the empire, before the silence that had grown between them over the last decade of missed calls and canceled visits. He hadn't heard it since her funeral. He stopped walking. His feet simply refused to move. If this story means something to you, if you still believe a stranger's kindness can change a life, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it tells us this story matters. Now, back to Daniel and Eli. Eli didn't know who was standing in the crowd. He didn't know the man in the suit had a corner office 40 floors above him, or a company with his name on the building down the street. Eli just knew the song. He'd learned it from his own mother, years before the accident that changed everything, before the medical bills swallowed his house, before his wife left and took what was left of his old life with her. He played on street corners now because it was the only thing he had left that felt like his. He never expected an audience to actually listen. But Daniel was listening. Every note peeled back a year he'd buried under work and deadlines and the excuse that he was too busy to visit his mother while she was still alive to answer the phone. He remembered her hands on his hair, her voice, off-key but warm, singing him to sleep in a small apartment before any of the wealth came. He remembered the last time he saw her, rushed, 10 minutes between flights, promising he'd come back soon. He never did. By the time Eli reached the final verse, Daniel's hand was pressed over his mouth, and his eyes were wet in front of 40 strangers who had no idea why. The crowd noticed. Phones that had been recording for a laugh were now recording something else entirely. A businessman crying on a Manhattan sidewalk because of a homeless man's song was not something anyone expected to witness that morning. But this story is not finished. The moment that changes everything is still ahead, and it has nothing to do with money. When the last note faded, Eli opened his eyes and saw the man in the suit wiping his face. He almost apologized, thinking he'd upset him. Instead, Daniel knelt down, right there on the pavement, in a suit that cost more than Eli's rent for a year. "Where did you learn that song?" Daniel asked, his voice breaking. "My mother," Eli said. "She used to sing it to me. I haven't sung it in front of anyone in years. I don't know why I did today." Daniel told him. He told him about his own mother, about the years of silence, about the guilt he carried like a stone in his chest every single day since the funeral. Eli listened. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't know who Daniel was, and it didn't matter to him. For the first time in years, Eli felt like his music had done more than earn a few coins. It had reached someone. Daniel didn't offer him cash and walk away, the way he might have imagined kindness looked a month earlier. He offered him a name and a number, a real conversation, an invitation to a proper stage, and later, a modest apartment above a small music shop Daniel quietly helped Eli's old friend reopen. It wasn't charity. It was a debt Daniel felt he owed, not to Eli, but to every ignored voice he had once walked past without looking. Weeks later, Eli played that same lullaby again, this time inside a small venue with real lights and a real audience. Daniel sitting in the front row, listening the way a son listens to his mother one more time. The crowd on the sidewalk that day never knew Eli's name before that morning. They never knew Daniel's story either. Not really. But they all remembered the sound of a rich man crying over a street musician's song, and the quiet reminder it gave every single one of them. Sometimes the person you walk past every day is carrying something more valuable than anything money can buy. If this story moved you, even a little, subscribe for more true-to-life stories about kindness, second chances, and the moments that change everything.